Every artist, or even every child, always likes to make a perfect painting. If it's not perfect, they either scribble on it, paint over it, or throw it in the garbage. I was nothing different from that. I was even worse. Every single dot had to be perfect for me. Thanks to my mother, she saw potential in me since I was a very little girl. And she started collecting all the little things that she could get her hands on to create a big file for me, because she knew I would throw it in the garbage if it was not perfect. What I can remember in my early stages, I was very fascinated with faces. I felt faces had so much meaning, so much expression, so much story in it. And every time I tried to draw the circle and express what I see, it never turned out right, and I kept getting frustrated. So I moved on. Now, I wear a prosthesis on my right leg. As you can see, I have some physical challenges. I also have a learning disability where I cannot memorize a lot of things. So sometimes I'd sit at the back of the class, not being able to comprehend a lot of things that's going on in class. I would take out my crayons and start scribbling. Not always what I scribble is a picture I have in mind. But now when I go back and research about this bicycle that you see, I always had the potential of a new road, of a new path. Now in art class, you always have new, different things that you're learning all the time. And so this time the teacher said, I'll leave it up to you. What can you do? I took a paper and put it in the water. I took big blobs of colors and I squirted it all over the paper and took a little marble and started blowing. I liked it. It's different. It's an abstract. However, the headache of blowing that marble was just so tiring. So I said, okay, let me make it easier. I took the same paint, instead put it on my hand, and started making swirly lines. By then, I thought I was a genius in class. I was that artist. Of course, in school, you never get away with not using papers and scissors. I hated it. It took me forever. Every student was finished and gone and graded, and still I was sitting there trying to cut and make a scenery. In the end, I started collecting the scraps of other students' leftovers, and started, putting them together to make a scene. Nothing stopped me. I always had to find a way. Now, being different is a blessing. However, it's also challenging because in school, I was never allowed to participate in any activity. They always told me, no, you can't, or you shouldn't. So what I used to do is go home, collect all my stuffed animals, especially my Barbie dolls because they were closer to humans. And each Barbie doll was a representation of myself. I created each doll, and every activity that I couldn't do in school, I projected on the paper. My art was a therapy for myself. It was always a mirror of me. Of course, I started hating people. I hate the word that you can't do. No, stay away. It made me stop drawing portraits. I had so much fear of judgment. So I moved on to landscapes. It was something where it was just my comfort zone. Maybe sometimes it's not the perfect landscape, but it made me feel better. Now, in my mid-teenage years, as a girl, I always wanted to fit in. And trying to be friends with girls was really difficult. If you're not wearing the same thing that she is, you can't be her friend. Or if you're not doing the same style she is, you can't be her friend. And every time I tried, going out and shopping or whatever, nothing always used to fit me, whether it's because of my hands or because of the prosthesis, I can't wear high heels. So I would sit at home and flip fashion channels and start sketching. If you notice, I never draw one leg, an extra leg, and I always leave the hands behind. Again, it was always a representation of myself. There was a point where I wanted to challenge myself because everything that I drew in the past was always big. So I told myself, why don't I try doing detailed things? Even my handwriting started changing, from writing from 3 lines down to even the middle of 1 line. And so I started designing henna. It was a challenge, but I did it. I used to take my mom's hand, trace it, and design the henna. I never wanted to draw fingers. I told myself, if I don't have fingers, why am I expected to draw it? So then I moved on. I say, everyone's designing henna on hands. Let me try pots, t-shirts, and even more. But then it came dark stages again. You know, I'm always trying to fit in, and when I can't, I express it through my art, and I go back to my comfort zone as landscapes. By 11th grade, I was stuck again doing paper and scissors. Only this time, the art teacher was really nice and said, I have a special gift for you. He gave me these scissors that only had one humongous hole. It looked like a pizza knife, only with a big hole on top. He says, this is going to help you create. I kept going, paper after paper after paper. I never stopped. I finally was able to beat some of the students in my class by finishing an artwork. In my last year, I took advanced program, which is college-level art in high school. And I was asked to choose a theme. And because I was in American school, I decided to go back to my heritage and my culture, and I chose Oman. This is one of my first paintings that I ever did with hands. It took me forever. Every time I looked at it, I ripped it up and started over and over and over and over. And still, I look at it now and I can see the imperfections. But I left it. And these are more of what I did in my last year. The last project I had to do was draw a man in dots. I was so upset. I said, I don't want to draw people. People are judgmental. But the teacher said, if you want to graduate your art class, you have to draw him. So first I was like, okay, to just get out and get rid of it, I started drawing it, but with lines. And he said, you can't do that. You have to redo it again. And it took me, I think I had to do it 4 or 5 times until I actually did it with dots. And it took me almost 3 months to finish it. But I finally managed. It taught me how to be patient and overcome certain challenges. After graduating from high school, I decided I wanted to go back and teach myself the basics of art. Where to put an object, where to put the light, where to put the shadow. It was just sketches after sketches after sketches. Now, I was never properly introduced to oil painting. I never knew what oil painting was. So, first I tried it. I bought some oil paints, got a canvas, looked through some old photos, and I tried painting this. However, every time I put 2 colors together, it kept merging and blending in and not working. So I went to an artist and I said, can you teach me? So she taught me. And with oil, you have to wait for weeks sometimes for one layer to dry. I couldn't stand it. Yes, I'm an artist, but I can be very, very impatient. Then I told myself, I'm very fearful of drawing hands. That's something I need to change. And there was this photograph that, attracted me and said, this is something I have to draw. Fisherman's hands. In this picture, I felt like when I was drawing the lines and the wrinkles in his hands, it was the lines that I was challenging myself. Every line there was like of telling myself, stop, you can't do it, you can't do it. But finally, I finished it over 2 months. I went to Jordan for 3 years, and I studied animation and graphic design. Studying that, I didn't want to lose my artistic skills. So I worked under an artist and managed to collect 38 pieces of artwork. And with encouragement of family friends, I had my first solo exhibition. Now, coming back to Oman, it was difficult because every time I looked for a job, they were surprised. They asked me, who's going to take care of you? Well, I'm thinking, I'm standing here in front of you wanting a job because I want to take care of myself. I'm not asking you to take care of me. I didn't come with a diaper and a bib. So it frustrated me, and I said, there is something I have to do. I have to start advocating. And what's the best way? Through my arts. So I started working on different things. I went back to henna and started using calligraphy. First, I tried using the English letters, and I didn't feel there was so much link with henna and English letters. So then I moved on to the Arabic letters, and I felt that it was more working together because of the curves and lines. And I started taking names of God and creating different designs. I got the opportunity to go to Tanzania for 10 days. And throughout my whole art years, I never used to draw things live. Like if they always had a bottle in front of me, I never used to draw it because it took me forever. And I didn't want to feel like I'm a failure. So in Tanzania, I had a book and an ink and a pen. And I would go around trying to sketch as fast as I can. I couldn't. It took me more than 20 minutes to finish this. So I told myself, maybe this is what I have to do, train and train and train. So I got back, and every day I would sit out in the porch and look at the view in front of me and just keep drawing the same picture over and over again. Now I came across an Omani fashion designer who was looking for an artist to collaborate fashion and art. And what we tried to use His Majesty's annual speeches. So every topic of every year, I tried to paint something, and she tried to design a dress. Now, because it was about fashion, I used the Omani traditional dresses. However, I didn't want to put flowers as that's the designs that we always have. Instead, I tried to take the representation of each region. For example, in Muscat, I tried to use His Majesty's Palace. Down in Salalah, which is in the south part of Oman, we are known for the frankincense tree. So I tried using those patterns, something a little bit different. But it didn't stop there. I wanted to push it even further. I started taking real material and stitching them onto canvas so people could have a feel. It's art, yet it's fashion. And with the Omani women's headscarves. And the burqa. Now, over 2 years back, I was introduced to the iPad by a friend. And with all these new applications happening, it was much easier to draw. The things that I would take a month, I would finish in probably a week or sometimes half an hour. So slowly it started creating a buzz everywhere, and I started participating in public where I'd have a huge screen behind me and I would draw and people would just pass by. I didn't forget about the message that I wanted to do. So I had another second solo exhibition, and this time I named it The Growing Journey. It's the journey that everything that I have learned and everything that I'm still trying to learn, I displayed it. And the outcome was great. So many feedback. However, people started saying, Safiya, the physical challenge lady. Safiya, that physical challenge. I am not just the physical challenge. I wanted you to see my art. I wanted you to see past my appearance. So I decided to have another exhibition. I called it Beneath the Surface. The reason I called it this is because I am more than what you see in front. I'm something, I have so much to give back. Because I liked the feedback that I did with the fashion designer, I started to go into depth of fashion and real artwork. So I started learning how to stitch on my own, and it took me forever. Every time I stitched, I kept poking myself and bleeding and poking. But in the result, I was happy with what I created. Remember I said I was fearful of portraits? Because with new iPad applications, it made it less time-consuming to draw. So I started taking family friends' photos, and I asked them, let me try. And I kept trying and trying. And then it slowly started creating a buzz over Instagram, over Twitter, over Facebook. And slowly, I was getting more and more requests. And I noticed with every picture I did, I was getting better and better. It's just a matter of pushing yourself and practicing and saying you can do it. My journey doesn't end here. I'm always looking for more ways to create and get my message out there. It doesn't matter what you look like. It matters what you can do and how you can help and give back. Thank you.